Why is my Experian score higher than Credit Karma? There is so much confusion around credit scoring. My clients call me on the daily and they're wondering why they went here and saw a credit score and they went there and saw a credit score. Well, in this video, we're going to break down why those differences exist. In this episode, we're going to discuss how credit scoring works. Next, I'll discuss the differences between Experian and Credit Karma and where they source their information. Next, I'll give you my opinion on which one I think is better. Okay, so to start off, I want to talk a little bit about credit scoring, and this is something that me and my clients talk about consistently. The main thing I want you to understand is that there's actually hundreds of credit scores on the market. And what that means is that the odds of you viewing your credit score that the lender is going to pull for you specifically on the open market is very, very small. Each industry actually pulls its own variation of the credit score. That means your auto loan industry, your bank card industry, your mortgage industry are all going to pull a different score based on that specific industry. So if you're on the internet and you're looking at a credit score and then you go to get a vehicle, you go to apply for a mortgage, the odds of you being able to see that same score, very, very low. Now, it gets even more complicated than that. Not only are there different industries and different credit scores that go specifically with those industries, but within each industry, there's multiple different types of credit scores that the creditor might use. So let's break that down. As an example, if you were to go get a mortgage, there's a very specific subset of FICO that mortgage lenders use. They're going to use FICO 2, 4, and 5. And it's uniform across the board, meaning that it doesn't matter what mortgage lender you go to, they're going to use that very specific scoring algorithm. They're going to drop the lowest score and the highest score. Whatever lands in the middle is going to be your actual mortgage score. Now that's for the mortgage industry. It's uniform, but all the other industries are not. Your bank card industry is not uniform. Your auto loan industry is not uniform. And what that means is that they can use any number of scoring algorithms, any number of generations of scoring algorithms, and then they can have those algorithms specifically set for their own requirements. So again, the odds of you knowing exactly what they're going to pull, probably not very good. However, if you get denied, or if you get approved, they're going to send you a letter and tell you what score it is that they pulled. And that's usually when most clients will say, hey, wait a minute, I saw my score over here at this level, but yet when I got approved or denied for this credit, it shows that I had a different credit score. This is the reason why. It's because there's so many across all different industries. So let's talk about the difference between Experian and Credit Karma. The first thing I want to talk about is that, remember, Experian is one of the three big credit bureaus. There's TransUnion, there's Equifax, and there's Experian. So Experian is going to have the more reliable data. They're supposed to, and I say supposed to lightly, but they're supposed to get all of their information from the original creditors. They're supposed to go directly to the source to get their data. And actually, Experian does a really good job of this. Another thing Experian does is they have what's called Experian Boost. So they have the ability to add to your credit report utilities, phone bills, your rental payments, and a whole lot of other data that allows them to show an augmented credit score. And that's actually a good thing. So if you're undercredited or you've got a brand new credit profile, having Experian Boost and adding some of those trade lines is not necessarily the worst thing to do. Now, from my perspective, I don't always like giving the credit bureaus access to more personal data. As you know, they make money off of us. They sell our personal data. I'm not really a fan of giving them more information, but if I had a client that had a brand new credit profile, and they didn't have any trade lines at all, it may not be the worst thing to do. Now with Experian, you can pay for a tri-merge report. Well, it'll pull a credit report from all three of the bureaus. But for this topic of discussion, when we talk about Experian, we're talking about only Experian's information. Now when it comes to Credit Karma, they pull data differently. First of all, they don't pull Experian at all. They use TransUnion and they also use Equifax. So Experian data is not even there. Now this is problematic because Experian is one of the most widely used credit bureaus when it comes to getting people approved for credit cards and auto loans and other items. Experian's kind of the big one out there. Now also, the integrity of Credit Karma's information can be a little suspect. Remember, they're getting secondary data. Experian gets first data. So from what I've seen, Credit Karma's data isn't always the best. Remember, Experian gets their data directly from the source. Credit Karma gets their data from secondary sources. Now, one of the biggest things that people ask is, why is my score higher or lower on Experian as opposed to Credit Karma? Well, here's the truth. The truth is that Credit Karma and Experian are going to use two different scoring algorithms. Credit Karma uses what's called Vantage Score. Experian uses what's called FICO. First of all, they're two completely separate scoring algorithms. Now, they have some similar qualities. They both go, in general, from 300 to 850. They both take into account some of the same metrics. Some of the biggest differences that I've seen is that Vantage Score with Credit Karma only accounts for open accounts. They don't account for open and closed accounts like FICO does. So all of your history goes into the FICO scoring algorithm. That's right, if you have a closed account within FICO, they're still figuring that into your overall credit score. Now, when it comes to Credit Karma and Vantage Score, they only account for open accounts. So closing an account on the Vantage Score side of things actually can penalize you pretty severely, as within FICO, because they account for both open and closed accounts. Closing the account may have an effect and it may not have an effect. It just kind of depends on the metrics of the account. Now, another big difference between Vantage Score and FICO is that within the Vantage Score, they account for inquiries differently. In general, inquiries account for, a deduction in score of usually 3 to 8 points. With the Vantage Score, the way that they calculate that is that you're allowed to pull as many inquiries as you want within a 14-day window, and they only penalize you once. On the FICO side of things, they penalize you for each inquiry with some exceptions. If you're trying to buy a vehicle, if you're trying to get a mortgage, or if you're trying to shop student loan rates, they only penalize you the one time as long as you pull credit for those different industries within a 45-day window. Before we get into what I think the best system is to use, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're really brave, leave a comment in the comment section. As you know, the YouTube's algorithm is looking for likes and subscriptions and comments in order for me to grow out my channel. So which is better? Is it going to be Experian Score or is it going to be Credit Karma Score? Well, I've told you the differences. So for me, because I know that FICO is most widely used, 90% of lenders are going to use FICO to determine if a person's qualified for that piece of credit. Even creditors that highlight Vantage Score, like Capital One, they highlight the Vantage Score with CreditWise and Credit Sesame and some of the other banks. The reason they highlight the Vantage Score is because Vantage Score gives their scoring algorithm away to these banks for free. So they don't have to pay to offer you and me a service of showing us our score. But guess what? Capital One doesn't use a Vantage Score to qualify you. They use a FICO score. So when you log into your Capital One account, they want to give you the free Vantage Score, but that's not even the scoring algorithm that they use to qualify you in the first place, which is quite interesting if you ask me. They're highlighting one thing, but they're using another thing. Again, it has to do with cost. Vantage Score allows their score to be used for free. FICO knows that they're in demand and that 90% of creditors will use them to qualify a borrower, so they're not going to give that scoring algorithm out for free. In terms of data, Experian is the original source of information. So I do like that Experian has all of the original data, where Credit Karma kind of recycles that information. Also, mind you, Credit Karma is a free service, and Experian certainly has a free service also. But Credit Karma's free service, is it really free? Of course it's not. When you sign up for them, they're going to try to sell you everything under the sun. In fact, as we speak right now, there's litigation against Credit Karma for telling people that they're qualified for something. They go to apply and they get denied. Credit Karma does this consistently. As they say, hey, you're ready for a mortgage. You go to a mortgage lender and they say you're not ready yet. Or hey, you're ready for a credit card. You go to that bank to get that credit card and you get denied. So Credit Karma really isn't necessarily our friend, right? They're there to sell us stuff. They're there to get you to click so that they can make residual income on whatever you can get approved on.